Claire Thomas was still trapped inside the rented panda suit when Adriana Scott raised the leather folio and said, "Sign nothing, and I take the copyright by Friday." The downtown farmers market kept moving around them as if nothing important had just happened. Children ran past with paper cups of lemonade. A man tuned an acoustic guitar beside the honey stall. Somewhere near the fountain, a toddler laughed at the giant black and white panda hood pushed crookedly over Claire's head. But Claire was not laughing. Her face was flushed from 3 hours in the fleece costume. One velvet paw hung at her side, the other pressed against the front of the suit, as if she could hold herself together by gripping fabric. A small crowd had begun to gather. That was the part Adriana wanted. She had not cornered Claire in an office. She had done it in sunlight, in front of parents, donors, volunteers, and teenagers with phones already half raised. Adriana wore an emerald blazer, too sharp for a charity market, and a smile too calm for an accidental meeting. Behind her, two members of the Eco-Education Board stood near the booth, pretending not to listen. A girl in a cream sweater pointed at Claire's panda costume and whispered to her friend. Another folded her arms, unimpressed. Public humiliation. That was the first weapon. The folio in Adriana's hand was the second. The morality and stability clause is very clear, Adriana said. If the primary creator damages the family-friendly image of the brand, fails to secure a solvent development guarantor, or creates public instability before the audit, the majority investor can freeze development funds and force a copyright transfer review. Claire swallowed. You staged this, she said. You waited until the charity launch because cameras would be here. I attended a public event for a brand I invested in, Adriana replied. If you happen to look unstable while arguing in a panda suit, that is not my fault. I stopped beside the jam table with my briefcase in one hand and my phone in the other. I had come to the farmer's market because Claire texted me one line that morning. Adriana is here with the contract. No punctuation. Claire only forgot punctuation when she was scared. I had known her for 8 years. I knew the difference between her chaos and her panic. Chaos meant sketchbooks on the kitchen table, 5 tabs open about compostable ink, and coffee gone cold beside a laptop. Panic meant no punctuation. I set my briefcase on the wooden display table. The metal clasp clicked sharply enough for Adriana to turn. Step back from her booth, I said. Adriana's smile thinned. Ethan Scott. I wondered when Claire's favorite lawyer would appear. I am not her favorite anything in this conversation, I said. I am a licensed intellectual property attorney standing in front of a public interference attempt. Claire looked at me through the opening of the panda hood. Relief crossed her face for half a second. Then fear returned. Good fear meant she still understood the stakes. I opened the operating agreement to Section 4, turned it toward Adriana, and placed my finger under the line she had been threatening. The clause allows a development fund review if 3 conditions exist, I said. A documented public image breach, a missed guarantor deadline, and failure to cure after written notice. You have no written notice. You have no cure period. And if you try to create a breach by cornering the founder in public while cameras are present, I will document bad faith interference before the audit begins. The woman in the jam stall stopped moving jars. A father holding a child's hand slowed near the booth. The crowd was still there, but the shape of it had changed. People were no longer watching a woman in a panda suit get humiliated. They were watching a lawyer turn a threat into evidence. Adriana's eyes moved from my hand to my face. You're representing her? Not yet. Then this is none of your business. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a dated letter. This is a preservation notice addressed to you, your counsel, and the board. It covers public interference, fund freeze threats, and any attempt to trigger the clause before the cure period. Miles Carter witnessed my preparation of this notice at 8:15 this morning. Adriana's expression changed at Miles's name. Miles Carter was not loud. He did not need to be. He was the kind of senior attorney boards called when they wanted a clean process and no surprises. Claire's velvet paw lowered from her chest. Adriana closed the folio. This does not solve her guarantor problem. No, I said. It stops you from manufacturing a public breach while we solve it lawfully. We? I let the question sit between us. Claire did not need me speaking for her. She needed the ground under her feet long enough to stand. I turned slightly toward her. Claire, do you want to move this conversation to my office, with Miles on the call and independent counsel reviewing anything before you sign it? Her eyes flicked toward the crowd, the board members, the girl still pointing, the panda hood slipping lower over one ear. Then she straightened. Yes, she said. One word. Hers, Adriana noticed. So did I. That was the first clean win. 20 minutes later, the panda suit was folded into the trunk of my sedan, not because I touched her or helped her undress, but because Claire shoved the heavy costume in herself with both hands and muttered, "If this thing becomes Exhibit A, I'm burning it." "Do not burn evidence," I said. She looked at me over the trunk lid. "It smells like overheated bamboo and regret." "Still, evidence. Fine Exhibit Panda. That is not what we will call it. It is absolutely what we will call it." The smallest laugh escaped her. Brief. Tired. Real relief after escalation. I drove us to my law office downtown. The air conditioner hummed low. Claire sat in the passenger seat, wearing jeans, a gray t-shirt, and the exhausted focus of someone who had been hit in public and refused to fall. Neither of us spoke about the crowd. Not yet. When we reached my office, I put the panda hood on the empty conference chair between us. Claire stared at it. "Why is it sitting there like a witness?" "Because it is. The panda is testifying." The panda proves heat, costume burden, charity launch context, and Adriana's timing. Claire took the glass of water I slid across the table. "I hate that you make sense." "You say that often." "You make sense often." "It's irritating." I opened the contract on my tablet and projected Section 4 onto the glass wall. "Here are the facts. You are here because Adriana is using a blackmail clause inside your operating agreement. She wants to freeze development funds, trigger a public image review, and force a copyright transfer before your brand's valuation rises after the school district pilot." Claire nodded once. "What does she want specifically?" I asked. "The copyright," Claire said. "Finch, Panda Planet, the lesson characters, the environmental curriculum, the animated shorts, the classroom worksheets, all of it." "And how does she plan to get it?" "By making me look unstable and underfunded before the audit." "Good." Her eyes narrowed. "Do not praise me like I'm a deposition witness. You are a very useful deposition witness." "Ethan." I turned off the projector. The room softened without the contract glowing on the wall. "Adriana's leverage is specific," I said. "She has a clause, a board audience, and a fund freeze threat. The normal exits are blocked because if you walk away, she calls it abandonment. If you respond emotionally in public, she calls it brand instability. If you sign her buyout, you lose the copyright. And if you borrow money informally, she calls the guarantor structure defective." Claire's hand tightened around the water glass. "So I'm boxed in. For now. And you're involved because you hate predatory contracts." "Yes, and because you told me 3 years ago not to sign this one." "I did." "And because you enjoy being right." "I try to keep that private." She looked at the panda hood in the chair, then back at me. "What is the lawful path?" That was why Claire had survived this long. Even scared, she asked for the structure before the comfort. I took out a fresh legal pad. "There are 2 separate problems. We do not mix them." She leaned forward. "First, the legal problem. Adriana says you lack a solvent development guarantor. We can create an independent co-signer trust through Miles Carter's office. Miles witnesses it. Your independent counsel reviews it. The trust is funded by pledged receivables from your district pilot, not my personal control over you. You sign nothing until your own lawyer explains it." Claire blinked. "That works?" "If drafted correctly. It satisfies the development liability requirement without marriage, without false filings, and without financial dependency on me." Her shoulders lowered, then lifted again. "What's the second problem?" "The public image problem." She looked at the panda suit. "Because Adriana made me look like a failing founder in a costume. Because Adriana wants the board to see you as alone, unstable, and easy to isolate." Claire's mouth tightened. "She has been telling donors I am brilliant, but impractical." She is preparing them to believe she should take over. And your solution? I set the pen down. This was the part that could go wrong if I said it carelessly. The legal protection stands whether you agree to anything else, I said. If you refuse the next part, I still fight Adriana. Miles still structures the trust. Your counsel still reviews everything. Claire's gaze sharpened. Ethan, I need a public shield for two events, the donor dinner and the audit reception. Adriana has been using your personal life as evidence against your stability. I want you to pretend to be my wife socially for 6 weeks. The office went completely still. Not even the air conditioner seemed to move. Claire stared at me. My wife? Only socially. No fake county record. No benefits enrollment. No falsa legal documents. No bank accounts. No life insurance. No pretending inside the legal trust. The public story is a cover to stop Adriana from staging more humiliation, while the real legal structure does the work. So if I say no, I still fight. If I refuse the wife story, you still get the lawful cosigner trust. If I tell you this is the worst idea you've ever had, I will revise the public relations plan. Her eyes stayed on mine for a long second. Then she looked at the panda hood. So I can refuse and still keep my lawyer? Yes, and if I agree, I'm not agreeing, because I'm trapped. That is the only version I would accept. Claire leaned back slowly. The glass of water sat untouched now. You are asking me to pretend to be your wife, because I am your friend, not because I need you to save me. Yes, she looked through the glass wall at the city beyond my office. For 8 years, I had watched Claire build worlds for children out of stubborn hope and recycled paper. I had watched investors praise her imagination while trying to own it. I had watched her laugh off exhaustion, rename failures as prototypes, and pretend she did not notice when people underestimated her. Now I watched her decide whether to trust a plan that asked for performance but not surrender. Finally, she turned back. Then I'm saying yes because you're my best friend, she said. And because Adriana needs to learn that I am not alone, I picked up the pen. Then we need rules. Of course we do. 6 weeks. Social cover only. No legal marriage. No false filings. No financial commingling. No statements to board or donors that Miles has not approved. No romantic performance beyond public support. You can end the cover at any time. Claire reached over and turned the legal pad toward herself. She wrote one more rule. If it starts feeling real, we say it out loud after the contract is dead. I looked at the line. That is emotionally imprecise. It is morally precise. It creates timing complications. It creates honesty. I did not have a useful objection. Miles Carter arrived at 6:00 p.m. with rolled-up sleeves, a takeout bag, and the patience of a man who had known me long enough to expect legal disasters disguised as strategies. He placed the food on the conference table and looked at the panda hood. I assume there is an explanation. Exhibit Panda, Claire said. Miles looked at me. I said nothing. He nodded. That tracks. For the next 2 hours, Miles walked Claire through the independent cosigner trust. He did not let me answer questions meant for her. He did not let Claire skip the parts that scared her. He explained the funding source, the receivables, the trust trigger, the audit packet, and her right to take everything to separate counsel before signing. Claire listened with a blue highlighter in one hand and the panda hood beside her like a ridiculous guardian. At the end, Miles pushed the unsigned draft toward her. This protects the development tier without requiring marriage, personal dependency, or Ethan's direct financial rescue, he said. You do not sign tonight. You take it to independent counsel tomorrow. Claire looked at me. I kept my hands folded on the table. Her choice. No pressure. She nodded. Good Miles looked between us. And the wife story? Social shield, I said. 6 weeks. No filings. Miles pointed his pen at me. If either of you turns my clean legal trust into romantic chaos before the audit closes, I am billing double. Claire smiled. Can he do that? Yes, I said. Good, then we should behave. Miles looked at the panda hood again. I have low confidence in that sentence. The donor dinner took place 3 nights later in a glass-walled event space above the market. Adriana had arranged the seating. Of course she had. Claire's name was beside mine, and the place card read Claire Thomas and guest. Not wife. Guest. Adriana wanted ambiguity available in both directions. Claire saw it and smiled without warmth. She left herself room to accuse us of either lying or being unstable. Then we give her neither. Claire wore a simple cream blazer over a green blouse, professional and calm. Her hair was pinned back loosely. No costume. No panic. No velvet paws. On the table beside her plate was a folder marked Development Trust Council Review Copy. A prop with a purpose. When Adriana approached with 2 donors, her eyes went straight to the folder. "You brought paperwork to dinner?" she said. Claire looked up. "You brought a takeover clause to a charity launch." One of the donors coughed into his napkin. I kept my face neutral. Adriana turned to me. "And Ethan? Tonight, are you here as counsel or as something more personal?" There it was. The trap. If I said counsel, she could frame Claire as dependent on me professionally. If I said husband, she could demand records. If Claire answered too fast, Adriana could make it look rehearsed. Claire answered for herself. "Ethan is here as the person I trust most," she said. "Miles Carter and independent counsel are handling the legal structure. Tonight is about donor confidence and the school pilot." Adriana's eyes narrowed. "Not husband, then?" Claire picked up her water glass. "Adriana, if you need my marital status to evaluate a children's eco-curriculum, your due diligence process is weaker than I thought." The donor beside Adriana looked down to hide a smile. Warmth moved through my chest, but I kept it off my face. Claire did not need me to rescue that sentence. She had written it herself. After dinner, we stepped onto the terrace for air. The city lights reflected in the glass wall behind us. Below, the farmer's market square was empty, all the stalls folded away. Claire rested her folder against the railing. "You didn't speak for me. You were doing well. You usually have more words than that." I rationed them. Generous. A breeze moved across the terrace, carrying the faint smell of rain from the street below. She looked at me sideways. "Pretend wife, but not wife." "Correct. Legal trust, but not rescue." "Correct. Public shield, but not pressure." "Correct. And if any of this starts feeling real, we wait until the contract is dead." She nodded once. "Good." The word sounded responsible. It did not sound easy. The first audit notice came the next morning. Adriana filed to freeze development funds pending review. She claimed Claire had failed to prove stability, had staged a misleading public partnership, and had damaged the brand through erratic market behavior. Miles called it a sloppy filing. Claire called it predictable. I called it useful. Because Adriana attached photos from the farmer's market, Claire in the Panda suite. The girl pointing. The board members, watching. Me stepping between Adriana and the booth. Adriana thought the photos proved instability. They proved interference. Nora Bailey, the market director, signed a witness statement by noon. She confirmed Adriana had arrived with board members before Claire's performance ended, waited until a crowd formed, and confronted her with the folio in public. 2 volunteers signed similar statements. One parent sent video showing Adriana telling a donor, "Watch how she handles pressure." That sentence became the first nail in Adriana's case. The second came from Claire. She spent 6 straight hours at my office with Miles and independent counsel, reviewing every paragraph of the trust. I watched her ask about default triggers, cure periods, approval thresholds, and whether Adriana could argue that pledged receivables were speculative. Her counsel smiled after the 4th question. "You understand this better than half the founders I represent." Claire did not smile back. "I signed one bad clause because I trusted the wrong person. I'm not doing it again." That was the moment the legal structure became hers. Not mine. Not Miles's. Hers. The real-world threat escalated on Friday. Adriana sent a notice to all donors, claiming Panda Planet's school pilot was under creator risk review. 3 districts paused payment. Claire's development account dipped below the threshold needed to pay animators the following Monday. She sat in my office, looking at the paused payment email. For once, she did not make a joke. "If the animators are not paid, I lose the pilot timeline," she said. If I lose the timeline, Adriana claims business instability. If she claims instability, she triggers the transfer review. Miles put the trust packet on the table. The independent cosigner trust covers the animator payroll for 30 days using pledged receivables. No. Personal loan. No marriage dependency. No hidden term. Claire did not reach for the pen. Her eyes moved to me. And if this damages your professional credibility, it won't, I said. You can't know that. I can know the structure is clean. That is not the same thing. She was right. The room went quiet. The panda hood sat on the side chair where Claire had insisted on keeping it during meetings. Its black felt ears drooped like it had lost patience with all of us. Claire pushed the trust packet away. No, she said. I'll sign Adriana's temporary management agreement. It buys the animators time. My hand stopped over my pen. Miles looked up sharply. That agreement gives Adriana operational veto power. I know. She will never give it back. I know. I closed the folder. Claire. Her voice cracked for the first time. I will not let my brand survive by burning your name down with mine. That was the emotional explosion. Not loud. Worse. A surrender dressed as protection. I slid the folder back in front of her. You are not burning my name. Ethan. No, Adriana wants you to think every clean option hurts someone you care about. That is how blackmail clauses work. They make surrender look kind. Claire's hand curled around the edge of the chair. I did not touch her. I did not lean closer. I turned the document so she could see the witness block. Miles signs. Your independent counsel signs. Nora's statement goes in the audit packet. The trust is not romance, not rescue, not debt. It is a lawful bridge funded by your own receivables. If you sign Adriana's temporary management agreement, she takes the wheel of your company and calls it mercy. Claire stared at the page. Miles capped his pen and set it down. No one signs anything for 5 minutes, he said. Claire walked the hallway. Ethan, do not follow. I am tired of everyone trying to be noble near my paperwork. Claire almost laughed. Almost. She stood and left the room. The 5 minutes took 14. When she returned, her eyes were clear. She picked up the pen. I am not signing to be saved, she said. No, Miles said. I am signing because the trust uses my receivables, my pilot, and my right to cure. Yes, and if I change my mind before counsel files it, we stop. She signed. Miles signed. Her counsel signed. I signed only as preparer. No marriage. No personal leverage. No false dependency. The animators were paid Monday. The districts resumed payment Wednesday after receiving the trust memo and Nora's witness statement. Adriana stopped smiling by Thursday. The final audit happened 6 weeks after the farmer's market. Same board members. Same folio in Adriana's hand. Different room? This time, Claire did not wear a panda suit. She wore a navy blazer and brought her own binder. The panda hood sat on the table beside her evidence packet because she wanted the board to remember where this had started. Adriana objected immediately. That is theatrical. Claire touched one soft black ear. No, it is context. The board chair allowed it. Miles presented the independent cosigner trust. Nora's statement entered the record. The district payment timeline showed that Adriana's freeze notice, not Claire's operations, caused the temporary funding dip. The video from the market played once, showing Adriana's staged confrontation and the line. Watch how she handles pressure. Then Claire stood. Not me. Not Miles. Claire. Panda Planet is a family-oriented brand, she said. That does not mean the founder has to be easy to corner. I missed a revenue target by 2% because we expanded the free classroom pilot into 3 underfunded schools. The pilot converted into paid district contracts 2 weeks later. Adriana knew that. She tried to trigger the clause before the receivables posted. She opened her binder. I am asking the board to scrap Section 4's morality and stability trigger as applied to creator control. Investors can protect money without owning the founder's grief, privacy, or public embarrassment. If Adriana wants a return, she can keep her non-voting equity. If she wants my copyright, she can explain why her first strategy was humiliation. No one spoke for 5 full seconds. Then Miles added the final document, a revised equity schedule. Adriana's majority voting rights converted to non-voting shares due to bad faith interference. The copyright remained with Claire. The blackmail clause was scrapped from all future development agreements. The school district pilot stayed funded. Adriana's counsel requested a recess. The board chair denied it. The vote passed. Claire kept everything that mattered. After the meeting, Adriana stopped beside us in the hallway. "You think this is over?" Claire looked at her. "It is over for this contract." Adriana's eyes flicked toward me. "And your pretend husband?" I answered nothing. Claire did. "The cover ended when the clause died," she said. "You can stop trying to turn my personal life into a legal argument." Adriana had no clean reply to that. She walked away with her folio closed. Miles watched her go, then looked at the panda hood under Claire's arm. "I never want to see that thing in a legal proceeding again." Claire smiled. Exhibit Panda retired with honor. 2 days later, the downtown farmers market hosted the rescheduled charity launch. The same square, the same honey stall, the same guitar player near the fountain, but this time, Panda Planet had a proper booth, paid animators, printed school packets, and a banner that read, "Kids for Clean Rivers." Claire was not inside the panda suit. The suit stood on a mannequin beside the booth with a small sign. "Thank you, Exhibit Panda." Children loved it. Miles hated it. I stood near the back with a stack of donor packets, while Claire spoke to a group of parents about river ecosystems and classroom kits. She moved easily now, no folio threatening her, no board members waiting to judge her posture. At noon, she stepped away from the booth and walked toward me. Her hands were empty. That was how I knew this conversation was not about a contract. "The trust is closed," she said. "Yes, the copyright is locked in my name. Yes, the fake wife cover is over. Yes, no leverage left?" "None," she nodded, looking past me at the market where the first humiliation had happened. Then she turned back. "So I'm asking as Claire," she said. "Not as your client. Not as your brand founder. Not as your pretend wife." The guitar near the fountain hit the wrong chord and started again. Claire smiled at the sound. "Why don't we make it real?" The old version of me would have reached for timing, disclosures, conflict checks, practical obstacles. The version standing in the sunlight beside a retired panda suit had already run those checks. So I took the donor packet from my hand and set it on the booth table. "Dinner," I said. "No, legal pad." "No, Miles." Across the booth, Miles looked up. "I heard that." Claire laughed. "Fine, Miles can approve the calendar invite, not the dinner." "Better," Miles said. Claire looked at me again. "And after dinner?" "One step at a time." "That sounds like you. Is that a complaint?" "No," she said. "That is why I'm asking." The market moved around us. Children lined up to take pictures with Exhibit Panda. A parent asked about the river worksheets. A volunteer taped down the corner of the banner before the wind could lift it. Everything practical still existed. The brand, the contracts, the future. But nothing between us was being used as a weapon anymore. That made the choice feel simple. Not easy. Clean. Closing thoughts. Core lesson. Real love protects your future without turning your fear into leverage. Green flag. They help you win cleanly, then let you choose them when you no longer need saving. Please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this. The end.